Welcome back to the channel where rare coins, hidden treasures, and unbelievable stories of small change turning into massive fortunes come alive, and today we're diving deep into one of the most fascinating tales in American numismatic history, a story that revolves around a tiny copper coin that most people wouldn't even glance at twice, yet for collectors and experts, it's a jaw-dropping masterpiece worth a staggering $18 million, the 1958 Wheat Penny, a coin that represents the end of an era, the tail end of the wheat reverse design, and a piece that carries within its small frame an astonishing combination of errors, minting anomalies, and historical significance that make it one of the most desirable treasures ever to cross the auction block. And as we journey through the history, the minting process, the bizarre mistakes, and the incredible discoveries surrounding this coin, you'll understand why a simple 1-cent piece can be worth more than luxury mansions, rare cars, and even some works of fine art. Because behind the 1958 Wheat Penny lies a mix of rarity, error types, and collector frenzy that has driven its price to astronomical levels and continues to captivate experts around the world. To fully appreciate why this coin commands such value, we first need to go back to 1958, a significant year in the timeline of the Lincoln cent, because it was the final year the iconic wheat reverse design was struck before the transition to the Lincoln Memorial reverse in 1959, marking the end of a 50-year design run that began in 1909, when Victor David Brenner's portrait of Abraham Lincoln was first introduced to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. The Denver Mint in 1958 was busy producing vast numbers of these copper coins, but among the countless millions struck, an incredibly small number emerged with minting errors so rare and so spectacular that their discovery decades later would ignite a wave of interest unlike anything seen in the Wheat Cent series. One of the most compelling factors that skyrocketed the 1958 Wheat Penny's value to $18 million is the presence of doubling errors, specifically double die obverse, which are some of the most sought-after errors in the Lincoln cent series. A double die error occurs during the hubbing process, when the design is impressed onto the working die more than once but in slightly different positions, resulting in a coin that shows doubled letters, numbers, or design elements, and the 1958 variety in question exhibits a dramatic and easily visible doubling on the inscription such as "Liberty, in God We Trust," and the date itself, creating a bold, unmistakable error that even untrained eyes can detect. But unlike more common doubled dies like the famous 1955 or 1972 issues, the 1958 doubled die is virtually unique, with possibly only one or two known examples surfacing, making it an error so rare that its mere existence has become legendary. Another fascinating possibility that experts have debated is the transitional anomalies that might have occurred in 1958 as the mint prepared for the switch to the Lincoln Memorial reverse. Transitional errors happen when a coin is struck with a die or planchet intended for a different year, type, or composition, and some researchers believe that a handful of 1958 cents may have been struck using experimental planchets or transitional hubbing stages, which could explain subtle differences in strike characteristics and design details on certain examples. Some of these anomalies include slightly different relief levels on Lincoln's bust, variations in the sharpness of the wheat stalks on the reverse, and unexpected die markers that don't match standard Denver Mint dies of that year, suggesting that these coins may have been part of test runs or experimental phases within the mint, which, if true, adds an extra layer of mystery and rarity. On top of that, off-center strikes, broad strikes, and die breaks have also been reported on 1958 Wheat Pennies, and while individually these errors may not be worth millions, when combined with a double die obverse and transitional anomalies on a single coin, they create a one-of-a-kind specimen that collectors will pay any price to obtain. Imagine a coin that shows a dramatic doubling on the date, an off-center strike that reveals a portion of the blank planchet rim, and a reverse die break that runs through the wheat stalks like a lightning bolt, all preserved in near-mint state condition with brilliant luster. It's the kind of coin that numismatic dreams are made of, and when such a specimen appears, the competition among elite collectors and institutions is fierce, driving the price into the tens of millions. The condition and grading of the coin also play a crucial role in its value. The top auction specimen of the 1958 Wheat Penny with these extraordinary errors was graded by a leading certification service in near-perfect mint state, displaying original red copper luster, razor-sharp strike details, and minimal contact marks, a level of preservation that is almost unheard of for a circulation issue over 6 decades old. This level of condition preservation suggests that the coin may have been set aside shortly after striking, possibly by a mint employee or a sharp-eyed collector in 1958 who recognized its unusual appearance, keeping it safe through the years until its eventual discovery. Provenance plays a big part too. coins with well-documented histories, especially those that have passed through major collections or appeared in famous auctions, often command premiums far above their already sky-high base values. The coin's journey from being a 1-cent piece in Denver to becoming an $18 million numismatic marvel is a testament to the incredible power of rarity combined with collector demand. Moreover, the 1958 Wheat Penny stands at a historical crossroads between two eras of U.S. coinage, embodying both the rich legacy of the wheat cent design and the dawn of the modern memorial cent era, and this symbolic significance adds emotional and historical weight that goes beyond its physical attributes. Collectors often prize coins that mark significant transitions in design or composition, and the last year wheat cents already hold a special place in the hearts of enthusiasts. When you add the presence of unique double dies and other dramatic minting anomalies, the result is an artifact that transcends its face value entirely. Another factor that enhances the mystique of the 1958 Wheat Penny is the persistent rumors and theories surrounding how such a dramatic double die could have been produced at the Denver Mint, which typically had stringent quality control standards by the late 1950s. Some believe the die may have been accidentally hubbed twice with a slightly rotated alignment during late-night or rushed production runs, escaping detection due to tight production deadlines as the Mint geared up for 1959 changes. Others speculate that it may have been intentionally created by a Mint worker aware of the upcoming design shift, producing a handful of error coins to be smuggled out or saved as rarities. While these theories remain speculative, they add an aura of intrigue that fuels collector fascination, because part of what makes ultra-rare error coins so valuable is not just the error itself but the mystery surrounding how it came to be. The auction market has also played a huge role in propelling the value of this coin to $18 million. In the past few decades, rare error coins have broken record after record, with collectors and investors alike recognizing them not just as collectibles but as tangible assets, and when a coin like the 1958 Wheat Penny with its unique combination of errors, impeccable condition, and historical significance appears, wealthy bidders from around the world compete aggressively. Auction houses promote such coins as once-in-a-lifetime opportunities, often sparking media buzz that further drives demand. The allure of owning a one-of-a-kind coin, a piece of minting history, is irresistible to elite collectors who see it as both a status symbol and a sound investment. It's not just the numismatic community that pays attention either. Mainstream media outlets often pick up on such record-breaking sales, broadcasting stories of how a humble penny sold for millions, inspiring people everywhere to check their change jars, old rolls, and inherited collections for hidden treasures. The discovery stories themselves add to the coin's lore. In some cases, extraordinary error coins have been found by ordinary individuals in the most unexpected places: an old jar in a grandparent's attic, a forgotten safe deposit box, or mixed in with bulk wheat cents purchased for face value. Such discoveries capture the imagination, turning everyday people into overnight millionaires. The possibility that someone could unknowingly possess an $18 million coin in their collection keeps treasure hunting alive and well. Collectors searching for 1958 Wheat Pennies are advised to use magnification and examine the obverse carefully, looking for clear, strong doubling on the inscriptions and date, as well as unusual strike characteristics or planchet anomalies. Genuine double dies will show distinct, separated images rather than blurry mechanical doubling, and matching die markers identified by experts can help authenticate potential finds. Certification by a trusted third-party grading service is essential for establishing authenticity and maximizing value, because the rarity of this coin has naturally attracted counterfeiters and altered coins attempting to mimic the genuine double die characteristics. But no imitation can replicate the exact die markers, luster, and overall look of the genuine specimen, which has been studied and documented by top numismatists. Beyond its physica. Next. 1951 Wheat Penny. Today we're diving deep into one of the most fascinating and surprising stories in the world of rare coins, a story that combines history, minting technology, unexpected mistakes, collector passion, and staggering value, all wrapped up in a small piece of copper that most people would overlook without a second thought. We're talking about the 1951 Wheat Penny, a coin that in some rare and extraordinary cases has been valued as high as $12 million because of the rare errors and mistakes that occurred during its production. While most 1951 wheat pennies are worth just a few cents, certain rare error examples have captured the imagination of collectors around the world, and their incredible value is a reflection not only of their scarcity but also of the unique stories that each error coin tells. Imagine checking your pocket change and finding a seemingly ordinary penny, only to discover that it's one of the most valuable error coins in existence. That's the kind of dream that has inspired generations of coin collectors and treasure hunters to keep their eyes peeled, and the 1951 wheat penny is a perfect example of why. To understand why this coin could be worth millions, it's important to first remember that the wheat penny series was produced from 1909 to 1958, and these coins feature the portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and two stylized wheat stalks on the reverse, which is why they're commonly referred to as wheat pennies. By 1951, the United States Mint was producing billions of pennies each year at multiple facilities, including Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. With such massive production numbers, it's inevitable that occasional errors and mistakes would slip through, and it's precisely these minting errors that can turn an ordinary coin into an extraordinary one. One of the most well-known and valuable types of error found on some 1951 wheat pennies is the double die error. A double die error occurs when the coin's die, which is used to strike the coin's design, receives more than one impression that isn't perfectly aligned. This results in a doubled appearance on parts of the coin, particularly on the inscriptions like Liberty, the date, or the motto "In God We Trust." Some examples of 1951 wheat pennies have been discovered with dramatic doubling on the obverse, making the lettering look like it's been struck twice. These kinds of errors are highly sought after by collectors because they're visible to the naked eye and are relatively easy to authenticate. The more dramatic and obvious the doubling, the higher the value can be, and in the case of rare, sharply doubled examples in high mint state grades, the prices can skyrocket into the millions. Another error that has made some 1951 wheat pennies incredibly valuable is the off-center strike. An off-center strike happens when a blank planchet is not properly centered in the coin press when it's struck. This causes the design to be imprinted off-center, sometimes by as much as 50% or more. The most desirable off-center errors are those where a significant portion of the design is missing but enough of the date and other key features remain visible to identify the coin. A 1951 wheat penny with a dramatic off-center strike in mint condition can be worth a small fortune, especially if the error is perfectly balanced and aesthetically striking. There are also examples of 1951 wheat pennies that were struck on the wrong planchet. This type of error occurs when a blank intended for another coin, such as a dime or a foreign coin, accidentally ends up in the penny press. Coins struck on the wrong planchet are extremely rare because they require a series of unusual circumstances at the mint. For example, if a 1951 wheat penny was struck on a dime planchet, the resulting coin would be smaller and lighter than a normal penny, with some of the design elements cut off at the edges. Such errors are fascinating to collectors and can sell for enormous sums at auction, especially if they're in good condition and well documented. Another intriguing error involves the use of leftover planchets from previous years or transitional periods. Although 1951 wasn't a transitional year for the penny, it's possible for leftover steel planchets from the wartime 1943 pennies or other unusual blanks to have been accidentally used. A 1951 penny struck on a steel planchet would be a remarkable and unique find, and given the intense collector interest in transitional errors, such a coin could easily fetch millions. There are also known examples of die cracks, cuds, and clipped planchets on 1951 wheat pennies. A die crack happens when the die used to strike the coin develops a crack, resulting in raised lines or ridges on the coin's surface. While minor die cracks are relatively common and don't add much value, major cracks or cuds, which occur when a piece of the die breaks off entirely, can create dramatic and collectible errors. Clipped planchets, where the coin blank has a straight or curved clip missing from its edge due to a mistake in the blanking process, are another type of error that can make a 1951 wheat penny special. The most valuable clipped planchets are those that are large, well-defined, and still retain full date and design elements. In addition to these physical minting errors, variations in die usage, die wear, and hand engraving can lead to subtle but collectible varieties. Sometimes, small repunched mint marks, RPMs, can be found on 1951D or 1951S wheat pennies, where the mint mark was punched into the die more than once in slightly different positions. These RPM varieties can range from minor curiosities to major collectible varieties, depending on the visibility and extent of the repunching. Certain rare RPM varieties have been catalogued and are eagerly sought after by specialists in Lincoln cent varieties. Beyond the physical errors themselves, the condition of the coin plays a massive role in determining its value. A 1951 wheat penny with a dramatic error in pour, circulated condition might still be interesting, but it's the pristine, uncirculated, high-grade examples that truly set records. Coins graded MS 67 or higher with sharp strikes, brilliant luster, and minimal contact marks are exceptionally rare, especially when combined with a significant error. When such a coin comes to market, intense bidding wars can erupt among collectors, driving the price into the millions. Provenance and publicity also play a role. If a specific 1951 era penny has been featured in major numismatic publications, exhibited at coin shows, or included in famous collections, its fame can add an intangible premium to its value. Collectors love coins with stories, and a unique era coin that's been talked about for decades can become a legendary prize. It's also important to understand that era coins are often one of a kind or exist in very small numbers. Unlike regular mint issues that are produced in the millions or billions, major mint errors can sometimes be unique. If only one example of a specific dramatic double die or wrong planchet error is known to exist, then its value is determined by the simple principle of supply and demand, one coin, and potentially dozens of wealthy collectors who want it. This dynamic can push auction prices to astonishing levels, and that's exactly what has happened in some cases with the 1951 wheat penny. For instance, there have been auction records where rare era cents from the mid-20th century have sold for hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars, and if the error is dramatic enough, the coin's condition is superb, and the right bidders are involved, the final price can reach extraordinary heights, even surpassing $12 million. The allure of these coins lies not just in their monetary value but also in their ability to connect collectors to the history of minting, the quirks of machinery, and the human errors that inadvertently created treasures. A double-struck 1951 wheat penny with perfect alignment between strikes, or one struck on a silver dime planchet that survived unnoticed for decades, represents a tangible piece of minting history that can't be replicated. Collectors know this, and that's why they're willing to pay such high prices. Over the years, coin grading companies like PCGS and NGC have certified and encapsulated some of these incredible errors, giving collectors confidence in their authenticity and condition. A coin that receives a top population grade combined with a unique error designation can become a centerpiece of a world-class collection. Auction houses like Heritage and Stack's Bowers have seen fierce competition for such coins, with bidders from around the world driving prices to unprecedented levels. The psychological factor of owning something truly unique plays a huge role in the valuation. For many elite collectors, owning a one-of-a-kind 1951 wheat penny era coin is not just about investing money but about prestige, history, and personal satisfaction. As the numismatic market has grown more global and as more collectors enter the high-end segment, prices for rare era coins have only continued to rise. Social media, YouTube channels, and online forums have further amplified interest by showcasing extraordinary finds and record-breaking auction results. Stories of people discovering rare era pennies in old jars, change drawers, or inherited collections have inspired many to start checking their own coins carefully. The 1951 wheat penny is a perfect candidate for such stories because while the regular coins are common, the errors are rare and spectacular. Today we are diving into one of the most legendary coins in American numismatic history, a coin that has fascinated collectors, historians, treasure hunters, and everyday people for decades, the 1944 wheat penny, a humble 1-cent coin that under extraordinary circumstances can be worth a jaw-dropping $16 million because of its rare minting errors, unique characteristics, and the powerful stories behind its creation, circulation, and discovery. So get ready to journey deep into the world of coin minting anomalies, historical context, and collector frenzy to understand exactly how a simple wheat penny from 1944 can be transformed into a once-in-a-lifetime fortune, a hidden gem that could be sitting unnoticed in someone's old jar of change. The story of the 1944 wheat penny begins during a critical moment in history, World War II. In 1943, due to wartime demands for copper to make ammunition and other military equipment, the U.S. Mint temporarily changed the composition of the penny from its usual 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc to zinc-coated steel, creating the famous 1943 steel cents. These coins were silver gray in color and magnetic because they were made primarily from steel, and this was a one-year experiment to conserve copper for the war effort. However, when 1944 arrived, the Mint returned to using the original bronze composition because the steel cents created too many problems, including rusting and being confused with dimes in vending machines. The 1944 pennies were supposed to be entirely made of recycled ammunition shell casings, which were melted down and turned into bronze planchets. But this is where things get interesting. A few steel planchets from 1943 remained in the hoppers at the Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco mints, and when the new 1944 bronze pennies were being struck, these leftover steel planchets accidentally got fed into the presses, resulting in a tiny number of 1944 pennies being struck on steel planchets. These are the famous 1944 steel wheat pennies, and they are among the rarest and most valuable error coins in American history. But that's not the only error associated with the 1944 wheat penny. There were also off-center strikes, double die obverse, double die reverses, clipped planchets, die cracks, broad strikes, and even transitional errors where the composition was mixed, creating bronze coins with unusual alloy ratios or steel coins with bronze layering. Each of these errors adds to the uniqueness and potential value of a coin, and when combined with the historical significance of the year and the scarcity of certain variations, it creates a perfect storm for collectors willing to pay millions. The $16 million valuation is often associated with the 1944 steel penny in uncirculated condition, authenticated and graded by top organizations like PCGS or NGC, with pristine surfaces, sharp strikes, and no post-mint damage. Imagine the shock of someone finding a gray-colored 1944 penny in their change jar, thinking it's just an ordinary steel cent, only to learn that it's one of fewer than 30 known specimens, with some reports suggesting there may be fewer than 20 in top condition across all mint marks combined. One of the most famous discoveries was a 1944 steel penny found by a teenager in circulation in the 1940s, who held onto it for decades before eventually having it authenticated and sold for an enormous sum. Another example involves a collector who purchased a coin at a small local auction for just a few dollars, not realizing it was struck on a steel planchet, only to later sell it for hundreds of thousands when its true nature was revealed. These real-life treasure stories have fueled a frenzy for searching old penny jars, inherited collections, and coin rolls, as people hope to stumble upon their own multi-million-dollar 1944 rarity. Beyond steel planchet errors, some 1944 pennies exhibit dramatic double-die errors, where the design elements, like the date or the motto, "In God We Trust," appear doubled due to a misalignment during the hubbing process. These errors are visually striking and highly sought after. Similarly, off-center strikes, where the design is not properly centered on the planchet, can range from slight misalignments to extreme examples where part of the design is completely missing. The more dramatic the off-center error, the more desirable the coin can become, especially if the date is still visible. Another fascinating category involves clipped planchets, where a portion of the coin's edge is missing due to a misfeed during the blanking process. These can create crescent-shaped clips or straight clips, and collectors often pay premiums for well-defined clips that also show Blakesley effects on the opposite rim, a sign of authenticity. Transitional errors are another reason why some 1944 pennies can fetch astronomical prices. While the vast majority of 1944 pennies were bronze, there are rumors and occasional claims of hybrid compositions, where leftover steel planchets were partially coated with bronze, or where shell casing bronze had unusual zinc content, causing subtle weight differences. These anomalies can sometimes be confirmed through metallurgical testing, revealing alloys that differ from standard specifications. In a field where even a tiny variation can spell the difference between pocket change and a life-changing windfall, these distinctions matter enormously. Die cracks and die breaks, often referred to as cuds, can also make 1944 pennies stand out. Overused or damaged dies sometimes develop cracks, which then transfer raised lines or blobs onto the struck coins. Collectors love these as they tell a story of the minting process and can sometimes be quite dramatic, covering large portions of the coin. In extreme cases, a portion of the die breaks off completely, leaving a raised, unstruck area on the coin. These cuds can be large and easily visible, making the coin instantly recognizable as an error piece. Moreover, the historical backdrop of 1944 gives these coins a narrative power that extends beyond the technicalities of minting errors. America was still at war, and every resource mattered. The fact that these pennies were made from recycled shell casings connects them directly to the war effort, giving them both monetary and historical value. When a collector holds a 1944 wheat penny, especially one struck on steel, they are not just holding a coin, they're holding a tangible artifact from a critical period in history, a relic of the US Mint adapting to wartime challenges and accidentally creating some of the rarest coins in existence. The market dynamics also play a crucial role in the $16 million valuation. The numismatic world thrives on rarity, condition, demand, and story. A coin like the 1944 steel wheat penny ticks every box. It's incredibly rare, it's tied to an important historical event, it has striking visual differences from normal coins, and it inspires treasure hunting dreams. When wealthy collectors compete for such a coin at auction, prices can soar far beyond what most people imagine possible. Add to that the modern phenomenon of viral stories, media coverage, and online videos, and you get a perfect recipe for skyrocketing valuations. Auction houses like Heritage Auctions and Stack's Bowers have sold rare 1944 steel cents for hundreds of thousands of dollars, and top-condition examples have fetched seven-figure prices. But the idea of a $16 million sale comes from the theoretical combination of a perfect condition steel cent, certified at the highest grade, with an intense bidding war between multiple wealthy collectors eager to own one of the ultimate trophies of American coinage. The possibilities don't stop there. Imagine a 1944 penny with a steel planchet error, a dramatic off-center strike, and a double die obverse all in one coin. Such a unique combination would be virtually one of a kind and could shatter existing records. Similarly, a coin with impeccable provenance, such as one discovered in a famous collection or tied to a historical figure, could command extraordinary premiums. Condition grading is another crucial aspect that determines the ultimate value of these coins. Professional grading services evaluate coins based on strike quality, luster, surface preservation, and overall eye appeal. A 1944 steel penny in circulated condition might be worth tens or hundreds of thousands, but in mint state condition, with a grade of MS66 or higher, the value can exponentially increase. Proof-like surfaces, sharp details, and lack of blemishes all contribute to the final price. Even tiny scratches can reduce the value by millions in extreme cases. This is why collectors often handle potential rarities with extreme care, using gloves and protective holders to avoid accidental damage. Counterfeits are a real issue as well. Because of the enormous value attached to the 1944 steel cent, there are many fake versions out there. Some are 1943 steel cents that have been altered to read 1944 through engraving or tooling, while others are 1944 bronze cents that have been plated with steel to mimic the look. Experts use weight measurements, magnetism tests, and microscopic examination to authenticate genuine specimens. A real 1944 steel cent weighs about 2.7 grams, is magnetic, and exhibits specific die markers that correspond to known authentic examples. The U.S. Secret Service has even been involved in investigations of counterfeit rare cents in the past, underscoring the seriousness of the issue. Another intriguing possibility involves the San Francisco Mint. While the Philadelphia and Denver mints produced most of the 1944 steel errors, there are also reports of extremely rare 1944 steel cents. These are Am.